Hi, Facebook world. Welcome to Bridging the Gap with Applied Software. I'm your host, Todd Wyatt. I'm Director of Marketing here at Applied Software. This is the show where we bring you the industry experts from AEC and manufacturing industries. Please feel free to interact with us by liking us or commenting on this video. You can submit some questions based on what you hear today in the comment section on this video too, and we'll be answering those questions a little bit later. So thank you so much for joining us today. This is the show where we're going to bring you some industry trends, tips and tricks, and get your questions answered. Today we are joined by our very own John Ade. He is our Director of Services in our Architects and Engineering Technology Group. So welcome, John. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Todd.
Can you tell a little bit more about your background?
Sure. So my background is architecture. I'm a registered architect in Georgia. I spent 20 plus years working in industry. And during that time, I gravitated more towards the technology. I'm going to call it design technology, starting off with CAD and then ultimately ending up with BIM. After 23 years of supporting that in the industry, I had an opportunity to join the team at Applied Software and joined as an application specialist initially, and past 4.5 years I've been actually managing a team of our consultants.
Great. So where do you see the future of design going in the next couple of years?
Well, there's a big need and a growing need for architects and engineers in the building industry. So there's plenty of opportunity for people out there. But as far as the technology goes, it's going to increasingly become more collaborative, much more cloud-driven, a lot of innovations related to the specific tools so that we can do a lot more analysis, a lot more simulation, a lot more visualizations, and a lot more real-time access to the data.
Great. Can you briefly describe what BIM is, kind of break that down for us, and the importance of implementing BIM?
Sure. BIM is a process. A lot of people think of BIM as something tangible, like a model. And part of the act of building information modeling is creating things called models. But it's really the process of using digital tools to design with more information that is more connected, that is more holistic and actually a virtual representation of the design, so it's easier to visualize how the building is going to be put together, to analyze how it is going to perform, and to simulate how it will be built to make sure that you have a positive outcome.
Gotcha. So are there any trends that you're seeing in the industry around the innovation side of BIM technology?
Yeah, again, a lot of it's focused around the cloud. That enables a lot more opportunity for collaboration, so you'll see a lot more services, a lot more interaction in the cloud. The cloud also allows you to update things a lot faster. You know, if people are posting things in the cloud or using services in the cloud, if there's a change to it, you don't have to download a new install to get that latest and greatest piece of technology. It's already there and you're using it immediately. So the cloud is really changing things. People's access to the cloud is getting better and better. There's always people that don't have great access, but cloud also makes it even better for those who don't have the fastest access in the world. So as long as you have some access, the cloud is there. There are innovations in design tools too, making it much easier for people to not only to convey their conceptual design ideas using digital tools, but more in a more kind of freehand type of mode, but also to analyze that data very quickly, very early on, and take advantage of that. And now we have something called computational design, where we can now take the design, we can do multiple iterations of what that design may look like and simulate it, and also repetitive tasks. So the same tools for doing iterative design also give us the ability to do repetitive tasks much faster.
Gotcha, very cool. So for those of you just joining us, this is Bridging the Gap with Applied Software. I'm your host, Todd Wyatt. We're joined here by our industry expert, John Ade, in the AEC space. We're talking about BIM right now. So John, can you speak to how BIM is being adopted across the U.S.?
Yeah, we're in a unique position with Applied Software where we work with a lot of people in the Southeast, but we also work coast to coast nationally. Also, we look at the reports that come out from like Dodge Analytics, and that helps us kind of see what we're seeing in the Southeast, but where it's happening nationally and even globally too. There's reporting agencies out there. BIM is being widely adopted. It's slow depending on your industry and maybe the size of the firm, but its adoption has been continuous since probably early 2000s. So like 2005, 2006, I think is when it really started to take off, and in recent years it's been steadily increasing.
Interesting. So I'm sure there's people out there that may be new to BIM. They're going, okay, this is a really big concept. How can I kind of take this in a little bite-sized pieces? So what would be kind of the 3 top things that you would say to somebody that wants to be successful in implementing BIM?
Sure. I think it's one of the things that I excel at, one of the things that I'm pretty much on staff to do, and that's to help our clients implement BIM and the technologies associated with it. And even in some of those reports, some of those surveys, one of the big things that they report back, and one of the first things I could convey to everybody is you need to have a plan. You really have to plan for this. And before that, you have to commit to it. This is a deliberate thing to basically change the type of tools and the type of the way you're going to design, and it cannot be a casual decision. It has to be something that's kind of top-down driven. Mm-hmm. So senior leadership really needs to be involved. They may not be the ones actually doing it, but they have to be a big proponent of it and support it and basically be its cheerleader. Mm-hmm. So you got planning, you got commitment, and you want to follow that up with somebody to help you. Mm-hmm. So most people are going to need help. A lot of people try and do this on their own. And some people have achieved it on their own. And I would say sometimes it's the younger firm with a younger demographic of people who are already very technology savvy, and they gravitate towards it very easily. But most of the people in the building design industry, they want to be designers and engineers first, and they want somebody else to handle the implementation of the tools that they use as part of their job. So it's going to be a smoother process and a faster process if you reach out for help, and that's what we're here for.
Nice. And you can find some information on ASTI.com about that and reach out to us if you're interested in that. But moving back to some industry trends, there's been kind of that shortage of qualified workers in the AEC industry, and it's becoming an ever-growing problem. Mm-hmm. What are some of your thoughts on how a firm could mitigate that problem? BIM
and adopting it and the tools associated with it, and we'll kind of get to the specifics of some of the tools and not just refer to it as just BIM, but we'll talk about BIM authoring tools too, I imagine. But just keeping it somewhat high level now, there's a shortage of people entering school for the demand, the need for architecture and engineering in building design and construction. So there's no technology in the world that's going to solve that problem, but the technology can make us more efficient so that the same amount of people can do more work and do it more efficiently and do it better and more predictably. So we still want to attract people to the profession, or the professions, if you will. Mm-hmm. We also want to make sure that they're educated properly. And part of that is in school, but also part of that is by the people who are hiring them too. And if you take care of the people you have and you help grow them as professionals, both with the technology and in design and engineering, they'll become valuable to you, and they'll want to stay working for you. And it'll also help attract other people, knowing that there's an organization there that's committed to the advanced technology, the advanced BIM workflows, and the people that they've got on staff. And I think it's a self-perpetuating practice, if you will.
Yeah, gotcha. That makes sense. So again, welcome to those of you who are just joining us. This is our series that we call Bridging the Gap with Applied Software. I'm your host, Todd Wyatt, and we're here with our industry expert, John Ade, talking about BIM, and we're going to be getting into some of the AEC workflows in a minute here. But feel free to interact with us by liking us, or you can submit any questions that you might have, that something that John's talking about that sparks something in you want to know a little bit more about it. Feel free to submit a comment, do your question through the comment section that way. That would be great. So I want to talk a little bit more about collaboration and the coordination workflows that design professionals can leverage. Are there any tools out there that can create that connected workflow with interoperable software?
Yes, there are. The tools themselves, and I'm going to have to get specific for examples, but the tools themselves are collaborative in and of themselves. So Autodesk Revit is a program that allows the team to collaborate interactively on a single model at the same time, and a multidisciplinary firm that extends to all the disciplines so that they can link each other's models and interactively see the changes that they're making, and obviously communicate with everybody and basically produce a design that's better coordinated a lot faster. So the tools themselves lend themselves to that, and BIM as a practice or a process really is requiring or wanting those who are working in it to act at a higher level of communication and collaboration to begin with. And then there's tools that reach out to the extended teams also. So things like BIM 360 team and collaboration for Revit extend that out to people who are not within the same organization, working on the same project and wanting to share model information and achieve a better product.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So for those using Revit and thinking that gives them all that they need right now, they're good on Revit, how do the specialized tools of Autodesk and their AEC collection that they have, how does that extend Revit's current capabilities far beyond just design?
Oh, that's a great question, because Revit is a very, very powerful tool. It's a BIM authoring tool, so again, kind of qualifying it into the process of BIM, it's an authoring tool.
Gotcha.
And it has a lot of features built into it, but it doesn't do everything by itself. So the AEC collection allows it to flow or create a workflow whereby you can start off with, say, a product like InfraWorks to start doing preliminary site design and even look at the road work that's connecting to the site or inside of the site. Being able to put buildings on the site, like from Revit or from Format, another conceptual design tool, and then being able to take that design into Civil 3D to do more of the horizontal, or what we call road work, engineering design, and then back into Revit to start doing more detailed design development in Revit. And then from Revit, we can reach out to something called Insight, and Insight gives us whole building energy analysis, daylighting analysis. So being able to leverage the BIM information that we are starting to develop early on, we can start to analyze it, and then we can simulate it with things like Navisworks to see how the building's going to come together, make sure it's well coordinated. We can also use, like I said earlier, a product like Dynamo to do iterations on those designs. And that's pretty much, I mean, there's other tools in there too for visualizations like Revit Live for virtual reality type of immersion, and then of course you can do standard renderings also. So there's a really broad selection of tools for analyzing. There's even structural analysis in the AEC collection that's available to people using Revit and robot structural analysis.
Okay, pretty robust then.
Yes.
Nice. So what does this mean on a practical level? How does it really affect the day-to-day of somebody's job and the workflow that they do?
Well, depending obviously on whether you're an architect or a structural engineer or MEP, you might use Revit for most of your core production work, maybe even a lot of your design work, but you may branch out to some of these other tools in the suite, again, for analysis. So you want to have the ability to not have to keep reaching out to programs that don't communicate well together. And what the AEC collection brings to you is a set of tools that address different points along the workflow, from conceptual design all the way into construction and even into occupancy for the building owner or the client, that allows for continuation of data, maturity, what we call it, without having to constantly import-export things into other programs.
Gotcha. So again, welcome. I see that there's some new people that have joined us. So we are glad that you found us here on Bridging the Gap with Applied Software. We're talking with our industry expert, John Ade, going over BIM, Building Information Modeling, and now we've just kind of moved into the AEC workflows and what all that entails. So moving on a little bit, how advanced do you really need to be in BIM in order to leverage Autodesk AEC collection?
I think that's one of the nice things about the collection and the way the tools have been developed, especially the ones in the cloud, is they're getting easier and easier to use. So you do have to have, a decent amount of training to understand how building goes together. That's kind of paramount to being in the profession. But the tools actually align with how you are taught to think about putting a building and the design together. So that makes it a little bit easier to, if you've never used a product like Revit, and maybe you've used AutoCAD for a number of years, it starts to work more like what you've learned in school or learned as a professional in how you put together building together, because you're virtually designing a building. You're actually putting together piece by piece, and you can see how there are interactions between the different systems and the different parts of the building. So it's a lot smarter, more intuitive way of going. But somebody does need to help you get there. So training obviously is part of that, and also mentoring, helping, having somebody who has done this before, experts like myself at Applied Software. We actually help our clients with mentoring, meaning when they start working on their first projects, we're there to answer questions when they get stuck so they don't get stuck.
Nice. That's great that they've made it intuitive and a little more easy to use with that aspect. That's awesome. So can you walk me through some best practices of a workflow to use the AEC collection to get some max value?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably closest to the architectural workflow, so I'm going to kind of start there, but it kind of weaves in some of the engineering disciplines at the same time. Obviously, the AEC collection addresses civil engineering for sites, structural engineering, MEP engineering, and architectural design, interior design. Even landscape design is getting into the BIM arena now, which is wonderful, because that's the kind of the full realm of projects concerns, if you will. So what we're seeing a lot more of is, I'm going to back up a step. This may be a long answer, so I'll try and keep it as concise as possible, but architects historically have used a lot of different tools for conceptual design, anywhere from taking a napkin in a restaurant and just jotting down an idea or a quick sketch so they wouldn't forget it. A lot of that is being digitized, making it easier to capture it and retain it and use it throughout the workflow of a particular project. There's a tool that Autodesk has that's in the AEC collection called Format Pro. And Format allows you to basically use simpler tools than what Revit provides to mask a project very quickly, but also start adding detail to it using Revit componentry. So not only can you get very sculptural with your design ideas, but you can also start to add a lot of detail. So from Format, you can start doing some initial energy analysis, but you can also then take the model when you're ready to do more detailed design. So I've got a designer on my team who might start the conceptual design. He can actually start collaborating with the rest of the design team early on in a collaborative session directly from Revit. You can use that on any tool, so a phone, a tablet, a PC, a laptop, doesn't matter. You can all join it from whatever device you prefer. And then that model information just flows directly into Revit. It saves out of Format as a Revit file and opens directly in Revit. So no loss of data, and you can continue to develop the design. Again, in there you can do more structural analysis, you can do more structural framing, you can do your systems planning and design, and you can also start doing your interior design. And then from there, you can, if you need to collaborate with teams outside of your office, you can push that into something called Collaboration for Revit. So again, that's a very common workflow, but those products I've named, probably rattled off about 5 products just right there.
Wow, so it really connects the entire workflow end to end.
Yes.
That's awesome. So how do you move from the conceptual design to the multi-coordination?
Again, I touched on it a little bit, but that's that whole, again, going back to Revit, it has the ability to do interdisciplinary coordination built into Revit. But often the needs go beyond that, and often the firms engaged are external to maybe the design firm. Not all firms are multidisciplinary firms. And so with that in mind, you can actually use a product called Navisworks for really heavy coordination, clash detection, also simulation. You can actually, the contractor can simulate how the building's going to go together logistically to make sure that they get materials on the site and they're going up in the right order based on their construction schedule. And then before it even gets to that stage, the contractor and the designers may collaborate together in a product called BIM 360 Glue. And Glue does a little bit lighter level of clash detection analysis, but it allows the designer to be able to do it very quickly from their desktop. Just push it or glue it back up into the cloud, and it's ready for multiple people to get into a collaborative session to talk about the state of the project and areas where they need to work out some coordination items. So it's all starting to interweave, if you will, and interconnect in the AEC collection just to make it simpler and faster.
Gotcha. That's great. So I'm going to do a quick check to see if we have any questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to submit any comments. You can submit your questions through the comment pane. If not, if you just want to check out a landing page, we're going to make the link to the AEC industry collection available in this in the comment section. You'll be able to click there. If you want any information on our other products or our services related to BIM or just in general, feel free to visit our website at asti.com. Let me take a quick check to see just if any comments have come through. So thank you so much for joining us. This is Bridging the Gap with Applied Software. Until next time, I'm Todd Wyatt, wishing Facebook a very happy day, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you, guys.